We are live. Hello, welcome. Heather Van Cura, thanks for joining our first 2017 Adopt-a-JSR for Java EE online meeting. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
All right, so we have several spec leads with us today, and we're planning to cover 4 JSRs. I put together a couple of introductory slides to go over what we're going to do, but we'll just go ahead and introduce our spec leads to get started. So let's start on the left of my screen. We got Dimitri. Hi, Dimitri.
Hi, Heather. So basically, I'm Dmitry Kornilov, and I'm a spec lead of JSON binding and JSON processing specifications.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. And we got Ed Burns next.
Hello. I'm here representing Servlet and JSF.
All right, cool. Thanks for joining us. We got Linda. Hi, Linda. Thanks for joining us. We can't hear you. I'll come back to Linda, or unmute yourself. No? Okay. Linda's here. She's the spec lead for Java EE8. Thanks for joining us, Linda. And we have Manfred.
Co-spec lead on JSF together with Ed.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And Xingwei. Hi, Xingwei.
Hi, I'm co-spec lead on Servlet with Ed.
All right, thanks for joining us. Cool. So got here, one quick second. Just gonna share my screen for a second. All right, so Java EE online meeting. What we're doing here is we're hoping Java user group leaders are here. You've all been asking me at the conferences that I've been going to throughout the year, how can we help with the Java EE spec leads and their JSRs? And as you've probably seen, we've had a lot of activity going on with the Java EE spec leads and JSRs, a lot of postings, so things are very active. This is the time for you to get involved and engage. So today what we're gonna have is 15 minutes per JSR. We've got 4 JSRs lined up for you today. And remember to communicate your interest on the JSR discussion. So the JSR page of every one of the JSRs you're going to hear from today is on jcp.org, and there you're going to find a link to the public discussion. Please share your interest and also any activities that you do or any feedback on that public discussion forum. And then also remember to update the Adopt-a-JSR wiki and communicate on the adoption list, just letting other user groups know what you're doing and kind of build up that community. So I have the list here for you, Adopt-a-JSR at Google Groups, and then the community space that we launched here for Adopt-a-JSR. So there you have everything that you need to know about getting involved, first steps, and also communicating your interest. So we've got our 4 JSRs today. We are going to have meetings coming up over the next few weeks. So our next meeting will be February 15th, and then we'll have another meeting on March 1st. And topics we'll cover will be things like MVC, CDI, security, and JAX-RS. So there is our introduction. So without further ado, we will start with our first JSR. We're going to do JSF first. So Ed and Manfred, I will go ahead and turn it over to you. You can share part of your screen if you want to, right. And then the rest of us will mute. The rest of the speakers will go ahead and mute our lines.
Okay. Thanks, Heather. Can you hear me okay? Great. I will share my screen now. Okay, so I'm really happy to have the opportunity to present our progress here on JSR 372, particularly with Adopt-a-JSR, because when we think about adoption, you know, you often hear the phrase early adoption. Well, with a technology like JSF that's been around for such a long time, there's no more early adoption of it. But it's still important because we're just about ready to ship our 2.3 release. This will be the first of the Oracle-led Java EE8 JSRs to be going final. We have got our public review going right now. I'm really happy to be able to say that. So I'm going to go over a few of our features and how we'd like the Adopt-a-JSR program to help us. Of course, I got to say the Oracle Safe Harbor statement. You know, this is an Oracle-led JSR, so Even though Java EE is a product that is fully supported and well supported by several Oracle products, WebLogic and Glassfish, you know, our product direction is a separate story that's not related to this story that I'm telling you here today. This is myself. I've been doing JSF for a long time, written some books from McGraw-Hill. I've done some trainings as well. My colleague Manfred here is the co-spec lead for JSF. He was also co-spec lead for MVC prior to the transfer ballot that's going on. So I'm happy to say JSF has been keeping the C in JCP since 2004. So here's our goals for Adopt-a-JSR. The biggest one, the one that I really need help with, is to demonstrate to the world that there still is interest in JSF. I mean, I know this fact. I can see the activity that we still have on the expert group and in the JIRA, and in the interest that's being generated. But still, it needs to be repeated, and this is where we could need help. So more than anything else that I'm going to say in terms of specific tasks in the Adopt-a-JSR tab, which I'll be showing you, blog, tweet, write articles, there's still demand for that. You know, I'm pretty sure that if you want to get in touch with dzone or JAX Enter, or maybe even InfoQ, I don't know, you know, they would probably be willing to publish some stuff about it. Of course, if you're going to do that, you need to review the public draft, which has been posted on this page here. So let me show you that. This is the JSR page, and you can download the public review ballot here. And if you click on this community tab, this is where we have our Adopt-a-JSR tasks. So we would like to, maybe if someone wants to help, update our Maven archetypes to be specific for 2.3. That would be nice. Help with the JIRA hygiene. We still have a lot of unresolved issues, and we've been marking them resolved as we go along. But some of them are not relevant. Some of them actually have been fixed. It's a good thing to go through that. Advocate that community-driven features are driven by the community. This is very true, and I'll talk about this more in our talk going forward. Update the real-world JSF links page with real-world sites that use JSF. I'm going to just open that up over here in a separate window, and I'll have to get that later. But you can find that page, I think, if you Google for it. And then there's some other tasks here that are more specific that I won't even ask you to do since we're so close to the end. Some of them are actually already done. So back to my slides. You can also share your feedback with the expert group on this mailing list here. users@javaserve.public.java.net. So we've got a long history of community involvement with JSF. JSF was the first part of Java to be open sourced. If you look at my blog post from June of 2004, you can see the announcement for that. We have a community created logo. The logo that you've seen for JSF was actually done and submitted by a community. We had a contest to see who could choose the best one, and the other submissions are still on this JIRA, which is kind of nice to look at. We did have hugely significant contributions from many vendors, starting with JSF 1.0. You know, IBM, Oracle, BEA, Sun, they contributed a lot, and over the years that contribution has continued, even as Oracle has acquired the companies that were formerly on the list here. Oracle and, I'm sorry, Sun and BEA are now all just one, so that's consolidation. We've had some big highlights in JSF 2.0. The big feature, facelets, was mainly contributed from the community. The AJAX feature was collaboratively developed, but heavily influenced by community members from IceFaces and AJAX for JSF. Our big features in JSF 2.2 were coming from the open source world, from expert group members. And as we've gone through, we've had a larger percentage of the work that's coming from the community. So now at this point, it's, you know, almost all entirely done by the community. Oracle, as the spec lead, is playing the role of shepherd and ensuring that the work comes in has the sufficient level of quality and integration and correctness to fit in with the platform as a whole. So if we look at our original JSR, we wanted to have a small, targeted set of new features directed by community contribution with better CDI integration, AJAX improvements, direct dependence on Java E8 features, support for MVC 1.0. And, you know, the first thing I want to talk about there is activism. Some people think that activism is a dirty word. I happen to think it's a great word. I think it's an important thing in any kind of collaborative institution, whether it's a democracy or an open source project or something with it's a hybrid, such as JCP. So the activism in JSF really started with Josh Juneau's famous blog post here, where he made the case for the need for more activity in JSF, and that really did cause a lot of eyes to be opened and a lot of action to be taken. So we're talking about it here today in part because of that blog post. We've had a lot of traffic on the expert group mail. This is all publicly available data. You can see since we started in September of 2014, it's been pretty consistent with peaks and valleys. Our project is mirrored from GitHub. I'm sorry, mirrored to GitHub. It's on java.net, but it's mirrored to GitHub with every commit every few hours or so. So it's got that nice commit strip on there. And you can see there's a lot of activity going back. I'm really glad that when we imported it to Git, we were able to preserve the commit history. So thanks, Manfred, for making that happen. That's super valuable for maintenance. Here's our schedule that we share with the JSF expert group. You know, hoping to have JSF final mid-March. We'll see how we can stick close to that. Final approval ballot happening there in mid-March. So hopefully we'll be done, you know, April-ish. I'll just quickly run through the features. If you look at this blog post from Arjun, who's one of our expert group members, you can see some details on each of these. So this mirrors what is in the original JSR that I showed at the beginning. Better CDI integration, WebSocket, AJAX method invocation, class level mean validation, Java time support, and UI data and UI repeat improvements. I'll skip through this. This is also similar to what we presented at Java 1, but it does give you the details on the new features. And is there anything else at the end, because we're running out of time? No, actually, that's it. So that's all I wanted to say about JSF. I would really just urge you all to go back to this slide where I said the biggest thing we need is the blogs and articles and tweets demonstrate that there's still interest in JSF. I will stop sharing my screen. There we go.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Ed.
All right.
All right. So to reiterate, JSF, we've got the public review out now. People should be helping to generate interest and awareness around that and giving you feedback, right? And the links are on the JSR 372 JSR page. You can find the draft, you can find the link of where to communicate with you. It's called public discussion. And then there's also a link to your JIRA where you can actually give feedback on any issues that you find. Yeah? All right, cool. So we're moving on to our next JSR. The next JSR that we had on the schedule for today is the Servlet. And we have Xingwei here and Ed. I don't know which one of you is planning to share. I don't know if either one of you is planning to share your screen or if you're just going to talk through it, but it's similar for every JSR, right? Every JSR has the same links on their page, link to the latest draft, link to the public discussion, and link to the issue tracker. So I'll go ahead and hand it over now so we can talk about the latest of what's going on with the Servlet JSR.
Okay. So what I plan to do is, go through a similar thing with what I did on JSF. And Xingwei, if you want to jump in at any time, I think you should stop or start sharing your video, so that way if you make a signal to me, I can know that you'd like to speak. Otherwise, I could just present what I had, which is based on Java 1. Ready to go?
Okay.
All right, great. Let me click on the screen share. There we go. Can you see my screen, Heather?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
got it. I can see it.
All right, let me just make sure this is set up to go in a window here. That way, Dimitri, if you're using PowerPoint, you just go to Slideshow, Setup Show, Browsed by an Individual. And when you then say Start Show, it doesn't go over full screen. You can, and then you can resize it. And it gets rid of the notes, which is handy. Okay. Same safe harbor statement that applies before. Even though Java EE is, supported by Oracle, we're talking about JSRs here, and the product story is a separate story. Xinghua has been doing specs for a really long time as well. Is there anything else you want to say, Xinghua, over your introduction?
Yeah, I think that is good.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to switch out of this presentation and switch over to our Adopt-a-JSR page first for Servlet. That's JSR 369. The most recent news on the Servlet front is that we're currently going through a JSR renewal ballot. This is a necessary part of the JCP process. If we don't get a new artifact out within a year from the previous one, you have to do a renewal ballot, and that's a great, it's a great way for the process to prevent specs from going dormant, which happens. JCP was built for the long haul, and it was built to survive organizations coming and going and having commitments that are subject to business constraints and business conditions. And as a result, there needs to be process in there to have JSRs be marked as dormant. And the way that that happens is if you need to insist on activity. And if there's no activity, then you got to have this renewal ballot. So we're currently doing that. Heather, do you want to say anything else about that?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that it has been really helpful for me in terms of looking at the JCP and working with JSRs for so long. Oftentimes the community gets confused if there isn't anything going on in the process. So it's helpful for transparency, and then it's also helpful, I think, for the spec leads because it does encourage them to stay on top of their schedule and be aware of when the deadlines are coming and to try and really meet those. And so it helps with the agility and the pace. As well. So I think it's been a really good thing, and I'm happy that we introduced it. So if you have any feedback about that and further iterations of the JCP, that's something we can always modify and update, but I think it's working fairly well at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So let's see. Did you see my screen still, or did you have the ability to mark who is going out live, or is it just whoever's talking?
Yeah, it's whoever's talking, and I can see your screen now.
Okay. All right. Well, if I keep talking, then you'll keep seeing my screen. So that's what I got to do. Now, we haven't, necessarily strictly gone dormant. There's been lulls and peaks and valleys, and I do expect I'll be presenting, or Xinghua and I will be presenting at the JCP EC meeting on Servlet coming up at some point, right, Heather?
Yes, so
Okay.
that is something that we have also introduced in the last couple of years as we encourage all spec leads as they go throughout the process to come and talk with the executive committee and share particularly their plans in terms of engaging the community and being transparent and moving their JSR through the process. And that gives an opportunity for the executive committee members to ask any questions that they may have as they're voting on the JSR throughout its life cycle.
Right. Okay. So I don't have the slides that are updated for that yet, but I can talk over the features that we're planning and in particular what I showed at Java 1. Before I do that, though, here is our community tab. And that one isn't actually as current as I'd like, although it is still true. We did this one actually. We didn't have categories for the Servlet Spec Jira, but now we do. So that is something that is done, although I ended up doing that myself rather than getting the help from the community. So I'll go back and reiterate the same thing I said with JSF. I would like to ask the community if they're interested in Adopt-a-JSR for Servlet. Continue to blog and tweet and write articles. Servlet is even older than JSF is, but yet still has its place, even in a world where more and more is moving to a microservices type architecture. I think there's still a place for Servlet, and if you want to write articles or blogs about that, please do. Let me share the Java 1 presentation just to go over some of the features. Okay. All right. Play from the current slide. So I won't do all of this here, as I wanted to keep this kind of informal and move it along quickly. But the big feature that we have in Server 4.0, of course, is the requirement to do HTTP2. And mostly that manifests itself as an implementation detail, but it's a huge one. Because without this ability, a lot of the benefits of HTTP2, the protocol itself, can't be guaranteed, so applications can't rely on them. There is one big ticket feature in HTTP2 itself that has a surface area in the Servlet API, and that is server push. So Xinghua is working on the implementation for that with the expert group. We had that feature specified in pretty solid form in the early draft review, which we released over a year ago, and we're working on continuing towards the next JCP milestone. The only change recently is there's been a refinement of the proposal that Xinghua has put out there to remove an aspect of the API that's not necessary, and that was a technical detail that doesn't really impact the usage of the feature. Let's see. I didn't really have much else to talk about for Servlet. We're still working on defining the schedule. We're trying to get it done as a part of Java E8, and we welcome the feedback. The mailing list for this is, I think, on the community page, or maybe it's it doesn't appear to be. I'll put it up here.
Back on your main page. So if you go back to the home page, scroll down, there should be a link where it says public communications. So go up a little bit. There. Okay. So public communications, it's highlighted right now. So that's your mailing list. Your project page is your main home page. So you've got several lists there. You've got your observers and your experts.
This is the one, right?
Okay. And then you also have a link below that to the Jira, directly to the Jira.
And yeah, we see people filing stuff on the Jira all the time, so that's very good. Yeah.
Okay. And then again, when people do comment, we encourage you also to introduce yourself in terms of which user group you're representing, and that way we can make sure to acknowledge any feedback that you give us. It is really important. I know all the spec leads I've spoken with have really welcomed and encouraged more feedback from the community. So make sure that you share anything that you have found in your discussions. All right, so I think that wraps it up for Servlet. Thanks, Ed and Xinghua. We're going to move on now. We have two more JSRs. So Dmitry Kornilov is going to share with us now about his JSRs. So he's leading the JSON bindings JSR as well as the JSON processing update JSR. So I'll turn it over to Dmitry, who can share with you what's going on with those JSRs and what you can do to contribute and help as we continue the process.
Okay, thanks, Heifer. Let me start sharing. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, I see your screen and it's full screen. So all I see is your slides.
Yes, because actually I followed its recommendations and it works. Okay, so let me start. First of all, we can't really avoid that. This is a safe harbor slide. So if you translate this text from lawyer's language, it says that it can be not true what I will talk about today, and it cannot be a part of the final product. So please don't make critical business decisions based on that. I usually say, don't trust me when I present this slide. So I suppose that you can trust me up to the point anyway. A little bit about myself. My name is Dmitry Kornilov. Oh yeah, you can trust me, at least what I'm talking now on this page. I am JSON binding and JSON processing spec lead. And I'm going to give you an update on these JSRs. I work in Oracle. My contact details are listed below, so my email address and my Twitter ID, so you can email me if you have any questions. I'm also a committer in Eclipse Link project, and last year I was awarded as an outstanding spec lead by JCP, and I'm very proud of it. So this is how agenda looks like. I will start with JSON processing, and after that I continue with JSON binding JSR. This presentation is relatively short. I suppose 10-15 minutes for each of JSR. It will take something like that. So let's start with JSON processing. At first, I would like to say that I'm a new spec lead, and I took this role in October last year. So most of the work was done by Kim and Chang, the previous spec lead, and folks from the expert group. If you don't remember what JSON processing is about, I created a couple of slides just to, give a quick overview of that. In short, JSON processing is an API to parse, transform, and do other things with JSON documents. Its analog in XML words is DOM or stacks. It consists of streaming API, which has JSON parser and JSON generator classes, and object model API, which has JSON reader, writer, and newly added JSON pointer, JSON patch, and JSON merge patch. This slide demonstrates actually this JSON processing JSR is update to the previous JSR. It's version 1.1. And here is a list of new features we are adding in this version. The main one is supporting the latest JSON standard, which is RFC 17959. The main feature here, the main change here is that root object can be wherever. It can be number, it can be string. Comparing to the previous specification there, it must be a JSON object. We also adding support for JSON pointer, JSON patch, and JSON merge patch. These three things were very requested by the community. Also, we're adding some editing transformation operations to JSON objects and arrays to simplify new JSON objects creation based on their existing objects. We're also adding support for streaming API together with collectors and support for processing big JSON, filtering, and this kind of stuff. As a bonus, we added JDK9 support. Now let's touch a little bit of history. The JSR was submitted in December 2014, and the early draft review was published in August 2015. last year in October, it passed the JSR renewal ballot. And a week ago, we published a public draft. TCK work was also more or less completed about a week ago. And the roadmap looks like that in February, we are going to have a public review ballot. In March, we still need to do some things like last fish integration and so on. But anyway, in March, we are planning public final draft ballot and release it in April 2017. We actually have a release. I suppose that we have it because Lukasz is working on it at the moment, right? So I think that it will be released to, maybe it's been released already, but definitely in an hour it has to be done. So this is the release. If you would like to adopt this JSR, you should take this one. This is the latest one, and try it. And what to do? The main question, right? So I see that, first of all, you need to test the new functionality we added. JSON pointer, JSON page, JSON merge page. And if you use the previous version 1.0 in your real life project, production projects which is actually working, right? Try to replace JSON-P 1.0 to the new version to make sure that it actually works, right? And if there is an ability to try the new features we added, please try it. This is very important for us to get, you know, some kind of feedback from using JSON-P on existing applications. Another thing which I would like to ask you to try, performance testing. How the new version is doing comparing to the old version, and if you would like to contribute to performance tuning of JSON processing, you are very welcome. And I can just repeat what Ed was saying about servlets and JSF, JSRs. We would like you to spread information about that. If you would like to write a blog article or create a simple application and publish it on GitHub and this kind of stuff, you are very welcome to do it. And if you need my support as a spec lead, you can always email me and contact me, and I will help wherever I can. On this slide, I put all the links you may need to take the JSR and start working with it, right? So first of all, specification page, right? Where I'm not showing the screenshot, right? Ed showed the similar page for Servlet JSR, JSON processing JSR looks the same, right? RI page on java.net, and we actually have a mirror on GitHub, and I would recommend you to use GitHub because GitHub is nicer and everybody is familiar with that. And the last link is a jcp.org page with JSR description, history, and other things. You can periodically check it to see is anything new there. Okay. If you found a bug, what shall you do if you found a bug? So I just put this instruction here because I actually found out that people don't know what to do, right? They found a bug and they don't know what to do with that. So first of all, you have to check our issue tracker. Link is here. Maybe this bug is already submitted, right? If it's not submitted, then you need to clearly describe the bug, what the bug is, right? Because sometimes people are, I said clearly, right? Because sometimes we don't understand what people are saying, right? They describe in a bug and we don't understand what's really there, right? So try to clearly describe the bug. And it's even better, or I would say even it must have, provide a test how we can simulate it, right? When you've done that, submit an issue to JSON-P bugs tracker. I have a link here. And if you have a fix, and we would greatly appreciate it, submit your merge request to our GitHub project. If you want to suggest a new feature, first of all, what you can do, you can discuss it in our mailing list. The link is here, right? Alternatively, or together with that, you can create a feature request in our issues tracker, which is there. We will take a look, and usually we have some discussions in Jira about, is it useful, is it not useful, and the version number, is it accepted or not, and in which version we are going to implement it if it's accepted. Okay, questions and answers. I suppose we don't have it now, so I can just skip this page. And now we are starting with JSON binding, which is JSR 367, right? You see the logo on screen. This logo is basically contributed by community. Carla De Bona contributed that. It looks very nice. A couple of words about JSON binding, right? Again, I'm not the original spec lead. I took this JSR in 2015, and the previous spec lead, Martin Gribach, has done a lot of work already. So this is not only my force there. Let's start with a little bit of overview of what JSON binding is. This is a new JSR, and people may not know what we are talking about. So JSON binding is a standard binding layer for converting Java objects to and from JSON documents. So JSON processing is, as I said, analog of stacks or DOM. In the XML world, and JSON binding is actually analog of JUGs-B. So here is a small sample. So we have a Java class, has some properties, and we have a JSON document. It also has some properties. So JSON-B is actually this arrow. It defines the rules how Java class transfer to JSON document and vice versa. I put some goals here, right? So basically, the main goal of the spec is to provide a standard binding layer, as I said already, between Java objects and JSON documents. All RFC 7159 compatible JSON documents, to be precise. In order to do it, we should have been studied and surveyed existing JSON-related specifications to determine the relation to the binding standard we are going to make. One of these kind of specification is iJSON, for example. Next goal is to maintain consistency with JUGs-B. I mentioned that already. JUGs-B is a framework which purpose is the same as JSON-B, but for XML documents. It's bigger, it has more features than JUGs-B, and the most important, it's older. Users already know how to work with it. So our goal was making our JSON binding API similar to JUGs-B API. The next goal is basically it says that we need to provide good enough defaults to make binding work well without customizations. On the other hand, we need to provide rich customization abilities, which would cover many corner cases and provide flexibility. It's not officially written, but these two goals also include studying the features of binding frameworks which are currently on the market and selecting the most popular of them for inclusion in the standard. Default use of the APIs should not require prior knowledge of JSON document format and specification. And relationship with JSON processing. Basically, JSON binding uses JSON processing as a parser. And both of them, JSON-B and JSON-P, together provide a full JSON support for Java Enterprise Edition. The non-goals, I'll just quickly say that preserving equivalence means that specification recommends but not require equivalence of context for deserialized and serialized JSON documents. JSON schema is also not our goal, and lightweight JSON API, which is JEP 198, is out of scope of this specification. A little bit of history. The JSR was submitted in 2014 in August. In September 2014, expert group was formed. First early draft was published in August 2015, and a year after, in May 2016, public review started. Annex passed public review ballot in July 2016. Now, in January, a week ago, we completed the TCK work, and in February, we are planning to do some minor fixes, GlassFish integration, JDK 9 support, and basically release it in April 2017. We released, again, we released milestone 1 version of API and of RI, it's called JSON. These days, a couple of days ago, JSON was released and API was released actually today. So if you would like to test JSON-B, please use this version. These are the latest ones, right? We actually made this release especially for you so you can test it, right? Again, I made a similar slide with links, which you can use to get their project and use it, right? So first of all, we have JSON-B website. It's sort of a portal where other links are published. It also has documentation. It also has some simple use cases, getting started guide, and these kind of things. If you would like to contribute there, so it's one of the tasks, like write a better getting started guide or put some samples there, just contact me. This is one of the tasks for JUG user groups. JSON-B API on JavaNet, link is here, and the JCP page for JSON-B link is here. Another set of links is JSON links. JSON is a JSON-B reference implementation. It's hosted on Eclipse Foundation, so it's Eclipse project. It has its own page, as other projects on Eclipse Foundation have. The link is here. The main source code repository is GitHub. Here is the link. We also have JSON user forums. So link is here. You can go there. If you have any problems, just post your question there. And we have JSON developers mailing list. Here is the link to join it, right? So you can join it to be really in JSON development. Another thing you can use is a demo application I created for Java 1. I would say that it's a bit old. It uses the previous version of JSON, but it shows, it demonstrates how to work with the new things we added, like serializers, adapters, and this kind of stuff. I think it's a good start point. How can you help? for JSON, we need to test it on the real use cases. The same thing I was saying for JSON processing. If you have a project where, for instance, JSON is used, right? You can try replacing JSON with JSON and see how difficult is that, right? We need your feedback. Another interesting point is performance testing, performance comparison, and performance optimization, right? We did some work in this area, and actually we had some results, which is great, but possibly you can do it better, right? Performance tasks are very important. We need JSON to be compatible with other frameworks. So if you would like to work on that, if you'd like to contribute in this area, you're very, very welcome. And evangelism. Again, samples, guides, manuals, blog articles, Twitter posts, wherever. It's very, very, very appreciated. We also can, as I said, that they have a JSON-P.net page, like a portal of JSON. I said JSON-P, JSON-B, right? Like a portal of JSON binding related stuff. If you would like to write a guide or a manual or wherever, we actually can post it there and give you a credit. If you found a bug, more or less the same slide as I had for JSON processing, but different links are here, right? If you found a bug in JSON, I put here a link to JSON issues tracker. The same steps: clearly describe the bug, provide a test to simulate it, submit it to JSON issue tracker, which is on GitHub. And if you would like to fix it, if you fixed it, which is appreciated, submit your merge request there. And if you like to suggest a new feature, here is a link to our mailing list, users mailing list, and our API issue tracker, right? We have two issue trackers. One is for API and another one's for JSON, right? If we would like to add a feature to API, here is a proper link to our API issues tracker. Okay, I suppose that I can skip it because there are no users to ask questions, and I finished.
Okay, cool, Dimitri. Actually, I'm on the chat with the live stream, and I did ask if anyone had any questions. We did not have any specific questions, although you did mention a couple of times, which I thought was cool in your presentation, kind of a little bit of guidance on what to do when you find a bug, how to file it, which is great content to have. You also mentioned performance testing. Do you have any tips on that? Or maybe you could go into a little bit of detail on that. We have a few minutes left in terms of how you would suggest them to get started and what you would want to see. So I haven't actually seen a spec lead suggest that in the past, so it's a little bit different, which I think is cool, but maybe you could expand on it a little bit.
Okay, so on our GitHub page, we have a couple of projects, performance-related projects. I think one of the projects is a comparison between JSON and JSON, right? Which shows that JSON is a bit slower, right? I like contributors to contribute in this area, like extend this comparison project with comparison of different use cases, maybe using different frameworks, not comparing with only JSON, but comparing with JSON or Genson and this kind of stuff. So we know where we're faster, where we're slower, and what we need to improve. Another point here is to actually make changes to JSON to optimize it, so it's comparable, or maybe it's even faster comparing to the other frameworks. Yeah.
All right. Very good. So I checked the question chats from the participants. Everyone's really happy with the content that the Spec Leads have shared. So thanks to all of you for sharing with us today and taking the time out and putting together those materials, which I think are great pointers for everyone. So those are live in the broadcast, be available to people. And we are going to have another meeting coming up in a few weeks. So February the 15th, please join us then. And any questions, again, direct them to the pointers on the jcp.org pages. There's public discussion forum links there. So any questions you have, share with us there. Also share your interest in contributing and getting involved. And remember that last step of sharing your results. So what you've discussed in your user group and the any bugs or issues that you've come up with. And I think I heard from everyone here on the call that we really do encourage people to be getting the word out. So raising awareness around the JSR by blogging, tweeting, writing articles, posting on social media. So that's something that we encourage all of the interested user group leaders who joined us today to do, to share the information that you're learning and following along with as you watch the JSRs go through the JCP. Share your learnings with your local community and share with each other on the Adopt-a-JSR list. So make sure you join the list and share with each other the things that you're doing. Any closing words from our Spec Leads before we stop the broadcast?
Thanks for having us, Heather.
Well, thank you for joining us. It was fun to see everyone, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah,
You too.
thanks.
Bye.
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 Bye.